Okay, so obviously the finals are set. We know it's the Pacers and the Thunder. We'll get into that. The finals doesn't start till Thursday. But there's some stuff we need to, hash out and talk about of the fallout. Because the last series, of course, was the Pacers and the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob G, I don't know we didn't talk about this, but do we have the sound or no? From Jalen Brunson when they were asking him about
he got
Tibs.
mad with the reporter, asking him about Tibs.
Is that a real question? It was kind of like, am I right, Rob G? Is that fair? Right? It was like, is that a real question?
He was talking to you, though, right?
Yeah, no. He going to talk to me now. He didn't know what I was going to be saying.
Okay.
He didn't know. But my point is this, and I know if you're Knicks fans, they were ready in the streets, and they were naming streets after players and all that. But if you're a New York Knicks fan, and you don't think what happened this season was a failure, then you have no idea what's going on. The 2024-25 season was a big failure for the New York Knicks. You went out. You got Karl Anthony Towns. You made a big trade. Mikal Bridges, you gave up 5 first-round picks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You did all these things. And the idea that last year went to second round, lost, right, in 7 games to the Pacers. You wanted to be better. You thought, blah, blah, blah. You made all those moves. Not only that, you beat the defending champs. And you can talk about, the Celtics Tatum got hurt. No. They won the first 2 games in Boston being down by 20. Once you do that, you tear up the script. So all the people didn't think the Knicks were going to go because they couldn't beat the Celtics because of all what happened in the regular season. That changed. And so should have the expectations of this basketball team, which was that they were going to finally get to the championship for the first time in 25 years, right, since 1999. Prince sang about it. The Knicks were about it back then. And now this year they have the Celtics beaten up. The only team in their way is the Indiana Pacers, a team that nobody talked about all year, a team that no one expected to beat the Cavaliers, and a team you had down by 14 with 2:38 to go, down by 9 with 50 seconds to go. You win game 1 at Madison Square Garden, and you're going to the finals, okay? You would have had a chance to go to the finals right there. And guess what? They didn't do it. They choked that down, lost game 2 at home, and basically the series was over. I told you after they lost game 1, they weren't going to the finals. You don't recover from that. They force a game 6, and guess what? Their stars don't show up in game 6 at Indiana. Have awful shooting nights. Ray Charles could see that. I mean, like just awful. Don't celebrate the New York Knicks for what they did and the excitement they gave the city, had people in the streets, had rats carrying pizza all over town in celebration. None of it mattered, Kelvin, none of it. They failed this season. The Knicks should be in the NBA Finals, not the Indiana Pacers. And for that reason, if I'm the Knicks, I got to look at Tibs and honestly make a change. And if you ask me who, I got the who. His name is Michael Malone, who coached the Denver Nuggets to an NBA Finals championship. There you go.
All right. Let me say this. And I never in my life thought I would be sitting up here defending the Knicks. What in the world has the world come to? All right, Rob, now this is where I got to bring you back down to reality a little bit. None of us went into this Eastern Conference playoffs thinking the Knicks really had a shot. In fact, we came on, all of us, talking about how they underachieved and they were one of the worst 3 seeds. We're all like, oh, nobody believes in this. They don't even beat the good teams. And not only did they come in and beat solid teams and the Pistons, an upcoming team, they beat the reigning champs, and then they beat the Pacers, who, by the way, were 34-14 since January 1st. The only team better than them are in the finals, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So the Pacers have actually it's our fault for ignoring them as being the second best team in the NBA since the beginning of 2025. So the Knicks come in, they beat a young Pistons team who has a really good team. They beat the reigning champs, and they lose admirably in 6 to the Pacers. Now, also, when you look at what they've done for an organization that has underachieved for 25, 30 years, to me, they have something to hang their hat on. They have officially 1,000% unequivocally found their guy, and we know how hard that is in sports, in Jalen Brunson. Is he perfect? No, but he's a heck of a player, one of the best clutch players in the league, one clutch player of the year. And then you have a guy in Karl Anthony Towns who you say, okay, the trade, he played well. There's some things we can work on, and that's a conversation for another day. But to me, the Knicks overachieved. We literally kept going, okay, this is about it now. They had their fun. Okay, there's no, all right, well, the Celtics going to come back again. Okay, well, I mean, now the Pacers going to, and they got 6 out of this. And so to me, I'm looking at the Knicks and saying they played hard. You never, ever, ever felt like they quit. They literally competed in all the games. And I even got to give Tibs, who I never want to give credit to, because all he does is look like another version of Darvin Ham with his hands in his pockets. Instead, his are hands folded. But we talked about it, and I said, man, he's got to start playing that bench a little bit. He's got to, there's no way they can sustain those legs. Those legs are going to go out on him. And they sustained throughout the season. Mikal Bridges, who's the Iron Man, calling him out, hey, man, we gotta get some breaks. We're tired. They fought through that as a team. They get in the postseason. Guys are playing too much again. He starts to play the bench. He plays right. He plays Shamet. He goes to Mitchell Robinson more. He plays the McBride. He starts to play some guys, and I got to give him credit that he at least was trying to do something. So this was an overachievement to me. They have some things that if I were the general manager, absolutely we're addressing. There's some things to fix. But, man, there's no way if I'd have told you starting in the beginning of the season the Knicks would be a game and a half away from being in the finals that you would think that was they underachieved.
Now, I don't even know how you could even think about them underachieving when they beat the defending champs that nobody expected them to beat, and they're up by 14 against the Pacers at home. It's one thing if they got mollywopped and got swept by the Pacers and they were just better, but they coughed up a historic choke. If you can't get fired off a historic choke, you can never get fired. I'm dead serious. Like the idea that you think they underachieved blowing and not only did they do that, you thought they bounced back in game 2, right? Because, all right, that was just one game. They not only did that, they lost game 2 at home to the Pacers. And so you're in a 2-0 hole, which you're not going to bounce back. There's no way you can look at that and call that an overachievement.
So how am I not firing Mazzulla? Because they
won a championship.
Right, but then I need the championship team to not lose 2 games from the up 20 because you're the reigning champs.
But they won. They won. Doesn't make sense.
It does. I'm saying based off of that.
Tibs hasn't won.
And he literally just got them further than any team they've gotten in 25 years. And again, I'm not sitting up here acting like he's Phil Jackson, but if my star player comes out and it gives him a major endorsement, my player I am absolutely tied to in Jalen Brunson, he ain't going nowhere, and he is my guy, and he sings a ringing endorsement. The guy's got me further now. I'm in the playoffs 2 years in a row, which does not happen to the Knicks all the time. 2 years in a row, and not only 2 years in a row, I improve. I get further than I did the next year. I don't see why they're going to end up firing that guy.
Because they did it before. Can I give you an example?
Yes.
Can I give you Rick Carlisle and the Detroit Pistons? Can I give you an example? And I want you to listen to this example.
Okay.
The Pistons had gotten further than they had ever gone with Rick Carlisle. And guess what? They looked and said, there's Larry Brown. And at that time, Larry had never won a championship in the NBA, but he was a better coach at that time than Rick Carlisle. If you're the Knicks and Tibs, he's never been able to go further with any team he's been. Michael Malone is available. Mike Malone is not a question mark whether he can get a team to where you need to go. He's available. Teams, you upgrade when you have a chance to upgrade. And that's the example I'm going to give you because I have seen it before. Smart teams go, thank you, Tibs. You got us to a certain point.
Okay.
There is no difference.
Here's difference. First of all, there's a massive difference. Rick Carlisle was just starting to coach. Facts or none? Facts.
No, but he still got the Pistons by the way he wanted to go.
Facts or no? Facts. Now, He was a new coach that they felt, all right, cool, that was cute. Get out of here. Here comes this 45, 50-year veteran and your boy Brown, Larry Brown. So this is not the same where Tibs is a veteran coach who's been there, who his veteran players love and adore him. I'm not stamping him. I'm just saying if Jalen Brunson and your front office have already come out and say he's their guy, he's going to be their guy. And again, the team is overachieved. None of us thought they would do this in the beginning of this playoffs. And they lost to the Pacers, who have the second best record since the turn of 2025.
That changes once you beat the Celtics. Come on, man. You don't go backwards. Once you've already –
They were the better team than the Celtics.
No.
They literally were. They were the best teams. The only team better than them since January 1st.
Who had a higher
Thunder.
seed? Who had a higher seed in the playoffs?
I just said
who had a higher
January
seed?
1st.
I don't care about that. Who had a higher seed?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
If January 1st
who was the favorite in that series? Was it the Knicks or the Pacers?
The Pacers were
No,
playing
they were
the
not
best
the
basketball.
favorites. They were not the favorites.
The Pacers, the only team that played better than
they
it's
were
the
not,
two
I don't
teams
care about
in the
those
finals.
Stats. Who was
the
the
Thunder
number? Who was
and
the
it's
higher
Pacers.
seed? Who was the higher seed? And who was the favorites? I'm asking you.
The Celtics underachieved. We've all talked about that.
I'm talking about who I'm talking about with the Knicks and the Pacers.
Answer
wait. Two questions.
Wait.
Who were the higher seed?
That's
what I'm asking
Celtics.
you. No, the Knicks. I'm talking about the Knicks and the Pacers.
I thought you were talking about the Celtics. The Knicks.
Okay, and who was the favorite in that series?
Actually, was it the Knicks?
Yes, it was. All right.
So if you're all adamant, why did you pick the Pacers to win?
Because I still didn't believe in
Okay.
Tibbs. There's your point.
So my point is
that I don't believe in
the
Tibbs.
Pacers had
I don't believe in Tibbs. I don't care if they call you Mr. Tibbs. I want you Mr. Out.
Sidney Poitier rolling around his grave right now.
877-99 on Fox.
Overachieved, underachieved, fire Tibbs. You mad at somebody? You thought they were right where you thought they'd be? 877-99 on Fox. Who we got?
Let's start with Jay in Georgia. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
What up,
great.
Hey, Rob, I agree with you. Kevin, I think you're being a little too nice to the Knicks because once they beat the Celtics, who are the defending champs, and then once Cleveland had all those players hurt, they got knocked off. The Knicks basically had no path except to the finals.
100%.
I mean, we can talk about it. We can talk about the Pacers all you want, but come on, I mean. And Halliburton's still a little overrated. That's just me. But, once you trade for Carl Anthony Towns and you give up all those picks for Bridges, you're basically saying the spiders are bust. So that's my take on it. Can I say this right quick?
What's that? Real quick, Jay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I don't get to call in all the time, but I do listen to the podcast. And y'all was talking about Chris Broussard and the hair down last week. Man, I'm telling you, I almost fell out of my chair, man.
Which one?
Well, I could. What did he say? What you say, Jay?
Which got you last week?
We all talking about Chris Broussard and he leaving his hair down.
Oh yeah. About Chris Broussard and his hair down. Thanks, Jay. Jay, thank
Jay
you.
and the Soul Glow. Yeah. I mean, Broussard with the Soul Glow situations.
Yes. Derek in Houston, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Derek?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Doing great,
man.
Hey, just want to touch on the Tom Thibodeau situation. Rob, I think you had a good point with regard to it may be time for him to be out. I want him to stay in, but I'm going to use a story from McDonald's theory, how you could hit a glass ceiling. You know, McDonald's started out with trying to be a mom-and-pop shop, and at a certain point, they didn't want a franchise, and they ended up making a lot of money, but they didn't make nothing until Ray Kroc bust them through that glass ceiling.
Yep.
Right.
So with Tom Thibodeau, they may have reached their point. I'd like to see him stay, but they also need a coach that's going to be able to coach Cat up as well, because that dude makes a lot of mistakes, a lot of dumb fouls, and he's not getting all the aggression that you need out of him each and every game.
Good
That's
luck,
a great point,
because he ain't never did it. He about 8-9 years in the league. I hear you. I agree with you on what he needs to do, but
Thanks.
he ain't did it yet.
How about Will in Wisconsin? You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Will?
What's going on, Rob? What's going on, Kelvin?
What's
up?
Really good, man, and excited, man. For the season to end. Guys played well from last year to this year, so it's been great, to really see. But Rob, to your point, this is going to be the telling factor of where James Dolan is in his ownership. I know he divested himself of the governor's board and all that, but that wasn't to make the Knicks better. It was because of, his issue that he had with Adam Silver.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes one of these things where, between him and Mr. Rose they're going to have to find a way. I don't think the pathway is really to add a Giannis because I think they have a championship team. They beat Boston, who are perennially getting deep in the playoffs. So that's that's a credit to those players. But Mitchell Robinson's got to take a leap, man, and Cat has to find some different way, some different playing level to really maximize on where he's at. But thanks for taking the call, guys.
No problem,
appreciate
Will.
it.
Yep, we appreciate it, man. Sorry we couldn't get to more of you.
That's all right. We got last call at the end of the show if you want to get in.